García y junto a mi compañera
Good
Daniela
morning,
González
everyone, and
tendremos
welcome
el
to the
honor de
third
ser
and
sus
last
maestros
day
de
for
ceremonia
the
en esta
Regional
última jornada.
Forum for
Dani,
Housing
llegamos al último día.
Así es, Edu, y estoy muy emocionada por todo lo que está por venir el día de hoy. Durante estos 2 días hemos revisado cada uno de los eslabones de financiamiento de la cadena de valor de la vivienda y cómo desde una alianza entre el sector público, privado y social, los países pueden atender de mejor manera el déficit habitacional.
Antes de comenzar, queremos agradecer a todos nuestros participantes y su compromiso durante todo el foro. Sin su entusiasmo y sus valiosas contribuciones, este evento no sería posible.
Así es. Y también queremos extender nuestro agradecimiento a los organismos multilaterales, a las agencias de cooperación, a las instituciones financieras y a todo el equipo organizador del Ministerio de Desarrollo Urbano y Vivienda. Sin su apoyo, definitivamente, este evento no hubiese sido posible.
De igual manera, saludamos a quienes nos acompañan el día de hoy de manera virtual a través de nuestros canales oficiales de Facebook y YouTube. Les recordamos que pueden seguir esta transmisión en vivo en 3 idiomas, en español, inglés y portugués, a través del sitio web www.forourbanoec.com.
Hoy continuaremos explorando temas cruciales en el financiamiento, pero enfocados esta vez en el desarrollo urbano sostenible. Tendremos más paneles de discusión, presentaciones magistrales y, por supuesto, el lanzamiento de la tercera convocatoria del Premio Hábitat Ecuador.
Así que, sin más demora, demos inicio a la tercera jornada del Foro Regional de Financiamiento Urbano y de Vivienda con el siguiente video de bienvenida. Disfrute de este último día a tope. Adelante, video.
Enjoy this last day to the fullest.
Ecuador, comprometido con las estrategias para el cumplimiento de la nueva agenda urbana y los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible, presenta año a año el Foro Urbano Nacional. Mediante un trabajo articulado por el Ministerio de Desarrollo Urbano y Vivienda en 2021 y 2022, se desarrollaron los foros Encontrémonos por el Hábitat y la Vivienda, espacios donde se reafirmó el compromiso para la implementación del Plan Nacional de Hábitat y Vivienda, además de fomentar una colaboración para establecer acuerdos y dar seguimiento a los compromisos globales para la formulación de política pública orientada al desarrollo urbano. Este año, el MIDUBI, bajo el liderazgo de la ministra Gabriela Aguilera, presenta el Foro Regional de Financiamiento Urbano y de Vivienda, un importante evento que reúne a autoridades y expertos nacionales e internacionales, públicos y privados, para el intercambio de experiencias a nivel intergubernamental e intersectorial, en el que se suscribirá el decreto ejecutivo que eleve la política pública a la Política Urbana Nacional PUN. Alternativas y nuevas oportunidades de financiamiento de vivienda social a escala regional, y el lanzamiento de la tercera convocatoria al Premio Hábitat Ecuador. Gracias por ser parte de la historia de desarrollo urbano sostenible del país. Ingresa a www.forourbanoec.com y no te pierdas ni un solo detalle del foro. Quito lo recibe una vez más con los brazos abiertos. Bienvenidos.
Muy bien, como lo mencionamos anteriormente, este tercer día del foro está orientado a fortalecer la integración regional y la gobernanza urbana para la implementación de políticas de hábitat y vivienda, que promuevan la equidad territorial, la recuperación económica, el desarrollo sostenible, la solidaridad y la garantía de derechos. Es así como damos paso ahora a Marco Cedeño, quien es gerente general de la empresa pública Creamos Infraestructura, quien nos presentará el día de hoy una ponencia magistral.
Bienvenido, Marco.
Welcome, Marco.
Buenos días con todos. Estimadas autoridades y representantes nacionales e internacionales, para mí me es muy grato estar presente en este foro.
Dear authorities and representatives at a national and international level, to me it's a pleasure to be here in this regional forum, which is called Urban Financing and Housing. And I am here to let you know about how Public policy is a reality that is positive for many people through the public company. We create infrastructure EP, and we implement projects related to civil infrastructure, improvement of habitat, access to housing, and the improvement of the hotel industry and its infrastructure in terms of their development plans. The first thing that we started evaluating is to generate what is the diagnostic that the country has. According to the sources of 2022, the quantitative deficit for housing oscillate between 65 and 75% at a national level. In this sample, we have taken into consideration 8.4 million houses in Ecuador, of which 14.21%, which has 684,000 units, has a quantitative deficit for housing, and this is affected in terms of floors, walls, and roofs. The question is, with these problems, how does the public company help the solution? We have done 268 agreements, generating hiring for 20,000 homes, which is equivalent to $300 million. Up to date, we have completed 16,000 housing units. In an indirect manner, that one way or another are in the construction system of 100,000 people in the whole country. What does this allow us? Is that at the moment we have been able to visit 23 provinces of continental Ecuador. And I want to let you know something. We are giving you first-hand news. In this forum, we have received already 500 units, housing units, that will be within this registry. Today, we are implementing and controlling 60 projects with 18,000 direct beneficiaries and more than 24,000 indirect beneficiaries, which is the equivalent of 24,000 housing units that will be delivered in these days. The company has national indicators of more than 2% that they have contributed in the decrease of deficit at a national level. But our work has to keep on going. In 2023, we are designing 36 new projects that equal more housing units that will allow 7,600 new beneficiaries and the creation of 10,000 work posts. And every time we visit people in the field, we're motivating so as to have the economy to keep on growing. And we are doing an investment so that we can include everybody in this production chain. With this investment that we are going to make, it's about $45 million that we are going to invest. But this work wouldn't be possible, first of all, because of the work of people who comprise the company that I want to thank publicly, because this is our day-to-day work. And also thank, through this circle, we see how the Midubi and their public policies that was signed yesterday, but they have been executing this all this time. And we've been working in a joint manner with the leadership of our minister, Gabriela Aguilera, and her whole team that have managed through different multilateral organizations, IDB, World Bank, CAF, CDB, national and international companies that have allowed the resources to be allocated in the local economy. Through the company, we generate infrastructure. And this joint work and working through the Commonwealth and the local governments that have allowed us through small steps or big agreements like permits, joint work, permanent help, that the company, jointly with the municipality and the ministry and other organizations, we are able to deliver smiles, support communities, to generate homes, houses, to give safe spaces that are useful for all. It's important to understand that we are in two segments, 1A, which allows to construct and generate these housing units within their own land, and 1B that allows to construct in what is tupe, which are urbanizations in the most vulnerable and needed places that the Midubi has defined so that we can solve problems in the field. And this is why that a new corporate vision of how we are doing it is standardizing procedures and improving indicators. Nowadays we have lifted processes that have allowed us to optimize, evaluate, verify from our contractors and our administrators, and also see the beneficiaries whenever we deliver, having quality control. And internally, we have generated more KPIs and another way to generate indicators for performance, and above all, to reach many people to our final beneficiaries. Many times we hear general information, and that is why we are worried about our immediate future. And yesterday, within the different presentations, we were hearing the minister that she is in a process of signing with the World Bank, and there was a component that we were saying that maybe if the El Niño phenomenon is aggressive this year, will have to happen. But us as company, we have started designing up-to-date research to generate new methodologies to give a response that is more agile, fast, and efficient, and quality-driven. And this makes us have optimization of processes and re-engineering of different cycles of what the market is demanding, and because the country needs it, and because we are obligated by the ministry. We have to look for the satisfaction of the citizens and our patrons and external agents, and especially you, the citizens. How can we not speak of statistics or companies? We want to show you a short video so you can see who we are working for.
Es un sueño hecho realidad gracias a la empresa pública por cumplir esto. Me siento feliz porque puedo jugar. Estoy feliz por tener un hogar donde vivir. No me lo esperaba, pero ahora, hoy por hoy, es una realidad.
Claro, esta dinámica hace que la empresa pública también tenga que irse actualizando.
This dynamic makes the public company to keep updating, and we used to sign agreements, and they were around all the country. And how do we keep on following up and seeing that things work? And one thing is having paperwork, the other thing is being in the field and going to the urbanizations and the houses and go where the people really are. And this is why we have developed an app that allows us in real time know what information is available. And the app, all of our administrators that visit the territory, and they gather information, they take pictures, and they take videos. And this allows us to build a dashboard that we can see here. Sadly, technological issues are ever present, but we have a constant follow-up of different provinces. If you see on your left-hand side, you can see that all the provinces are here and what has been executed for each one of them. In the area below, we can see cantons, agreement, value of investment, job posts that have been created. In the center, you can see the distribution of men and women by beneficiaries. And then we can see age groups and people who are the most needed from vulnerable groups. And as you can see, the great majority, the 73% that has been given out through the public company has been for women. And for today, this is real time. Let's take the province of Manabí. And then let's choose any canton. Please, let's open a video. Possibly it's not going to be the best video edition, but this is in real time. So we are seeking to verify through this for our sponsors, Midubi, and the citizenship. Please.
He hecho el sueño realidad de tener mi casa propia, también a los señores del Midubi y a la empresa pública. Mil gracias, en serio, estoy muy agradecida por mi casa.
Por favor, ¿podemos ver fotos de la misma? Esta es la casa que acabamos de entregar con esta beneficiaria.
We can look at the pictures as well, and this is the house that we just delivered with this beneficiary. Next. And that's how we keep uploading the information at a permanent pace to see with evidence and real results. This is a small tour, and this type of housing is a new typology designed by the minister through the Midubi, in which we incorporate new technologies. And this has a new feature, which is the use of bamboo. In honor of time, we have nothing left to say, but thank you for the trust. Thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Minister. And especially thanks to the citizenship. Because if it weren't because of you, we will keep on working. Let's keep on moving with faith. Let's keep on moving forward. Thank you.
Damos gracias a Marco Cedeño, gerente general de Creamos Infraestructura EP, por compartir con nosotros el trabajo que realiza la empresa pública en conjunto con el Ministerio.
Thank you, Marco Cedeño, for sharing with us the work that the public company does with the development of what Midubi is doing, so that we can reach our goals and bring smiles to Ecuadorian families. In 2022, through the Ministry of Urban Development and Housing, we subscribed to the SDGs through Cities of Change, focused on reducing the inequality gaps in prioritized cantons in the country. We are inviting our dear Minister, Maria Gabriela Aguilera, who will explain further about Cities of Change in Ecuador. Good morning, Minister. You are welcome here.
Muchísimas gracias. Muy buenos días.
Muito obrigada, bom dia a todos. Na verdade, eu estou surpresa de quando vejo
Good morning, everyone.
da aplicação da empresa.
I am surprised to see the results of the app of the company. We create infrastructure. It's been an effort that the general manager has done with his team in a record time, which is 1 month, a month and a half of work to create and strengthen the information technologies of our public enterprise. Please, a round of applause for the whole team.
Gestión es fundamental. Primero que nos ayuda a llegar a las familias que más lo necesitan. Ese es pues nuestro motor, nuestra principal.
First of all, it allows us to reach families that need it the most. That is our engine, our highest motivation. And having the data like this helps us take the most important decisions for future programs and projects. So, congratulations for this amazing work. Today, we have a day that is filled with valuable knowledge that will be given up by our invitees, and they're dedicated to cities and development. And we want to start this day with Cities of Change.
Ciudades, como bien lo dice Ban Ki-moon.
We consider that the battle for sustainable development will be won or lost, as well as is said by Ban Ki-moon. And we think we have the responsibility of confronting this great challenge as a team, as the Team Ecuador. 56% of the global population live in cities at the moment. It is expected the urban population will double, reaching the 70% of population in the world. 80% of the GDP is generated in cities, which highlights its economic importance. Fast urbanization has challenges, as is providing housing that is affordable and also jobs for the population that keeps growing. Close to 1,000 million people live in informal settlements in urban areas. This is why we have to highlight the access to basic services. The use of urban land is higher than 50%, which adds pressure to natural resources and contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. Cities are responsible for 2/3 of the consumption of and production of greenhouse gases. Cities that are growing have to face challenges and risks such as natural phenomenon. They are in the first line with epidemics just like COVID-19, which highlights the importance of being ready and having the adequate response in public health crisis. Inclusion is fundamental in managing cities to guarantee that all people, including the most vulnerable, have access to a safe, healthy habitat. Constructing inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable cities requires decisions at a local level. In this context, and with the information that has been presented, the Subsecretariat of quality of the presidency that is led by Eduardo Erdocia, who is here with us today, leads Cities of Change with the support of Midubi. This initiative arises from the need to have integral interventions at a national level with ministries of the Ecuadorian state to reduce gaps in local autonomous governments at a national level and improve the quality of life of all its inhabitants. Cities of Change has an ample intervention spectrum, such as water, sanitation, security, green areas, child malnutrition, and agriculture. In this way, the presidency has prioritized 17 cantons in all of our country. It's important to highlight that we are working in the first phase of the project with 6 cantons with whom we have worked with the mayors and their teams, planning teams, in a continuous manner during the last few years. Cantón Limón Lindanza, Penipe, Espejo, and Manabí. Please give a round of applause with all the work that they have been doing in the last few months. It's important to let you know that in this first phase, we have worked in the compilation of data through a methodology that has been given to us by the United Nations with the help from Roy Kitty and the team of UN. We have been able to fill out all the information that is necessary of all the cantons. And Wednesday we gave out the 4 certificates of SCDGPs, and this is an effort that will allow us to walk towards sustainable development in an urban aspect. For the second phase, we will design interventions in 11 cantons that are prioritized by the Presidency of the Republic, and we have designated 3 cantons as references at a national level, promoting equitable development that is sustainable and fair in our country. Thank you very much. I don't know if the mayor of Espejo is here already. He's on his way. I have a certificate that could be delivered on Monday, and also to the Madam Mayors of Chillanes and Olmedo. We will keep working on during these days to be able to reach the first silver certificate so they can be part of the prioritized countries that already have their certificates. Eduardo Erdocia, please join us. He will explain at a deeper level what has been done in this program. Thank you so much.
Bueno, muy buenos días con todos. Realmente, antes de empezar, quiero siempre darle mi
Good morning, everyone.
por tanta generosidad y por tanto trabajo.
Before I start, I want to thank you, Gabriela, for so much generosity and so much articulate work that has been taking place since a year ago, more than a year ago, for Cities of Change. I also want to take advantage of the situation to congratulate you on your management through the public enterprise for construction. And right now, we are generating real solutions that are being felt in the population. It's been 2 days of great success and professionalism, and the panels, Gabi, for me it's an honor to be here. And I thank your generosity to allow me to share with all of you with this presentation. Cities of Change, as Madam Minister Aguilera said, is a project that we are seeking to be able to intervene in interinstitutional ways, not just from the state, but articulating through a collective way with different institutions, different ministries, different directions, with the goal of having data about what is going on really with the gaps in our country, and also to be able to generate solutions that are concrete and real. And sometimes they're very small, and sometimes we take them for granted, but they have a great impact on the improvement of the quality of life of citizens. From the Subsecretariat of Transformation, Efficiency, and Quality of Services of the State, led by the President Guillermo Lasso, who backs this project up. We presented this project to him last year when we started with an idea of being able to sign the agreement with municipalities, and it's part of the articulate effort of leadership that the President is doing to be able to achieve the objectives of this project. Here, I would like to explain more than with words this graph that is the specific projects that you can see in the center of the slide are a great importance and a great focus and what we are aiming towards. All the localities, call them provincial governments, municipalities, neighborhoods, have many gaps for the services of the state, and this has repercussions in the needs that will generate specific projects that have to be solved through different institutions of the state that will respond in function of macro goals that have to be adapted to the SDGs and also the urban development plan, to have specific plans with which we are working with. Please. As the minister said, we have been working hand in hand with the Ministry of Urban Development, with the leadership of Gabriela Aguilera, and also dealing with different areas of the state. And I would also like to thank the Ministry of Telecommunications, Ministry of Education, Health, Civil Registry, Census Institute, who have supported us being able to reach our goals. This wouldn't be able to be done without articulated work amongst the governments, the local governments, and I want to thank the authorities, the Madam Mayor of Chillanes, the Madam Mayor of Olmedo, the Mayor of Espejo, Penipe, Nabón, because they have been our pilot cities, as Minister Aguilera said, and also hand in hand with the articulate work, because we can't pretend to move isolated from international cooperation, especially to UN Habitat and NGOs, like the program leaders that govern, and the teams of the municipalities, and evidently private sector and academia. It is important to take into consideration how the selection process has been of these places. In first instances, we have always considered factors that are related to demographics, poverty indicators, but above all, the gaps of the services of the state in many factors. Gaps in the availability to have water for human consumption, like the lack of connectivity and access to the internet, the lack of work opportunities, and the lack of green spaces, and also important projects that might be able to generate a healthy, sustainable, and safe environment for communities. Yes, the housing deficit, qualitative and quantitative, are the crucial indicators that we could choose from or prioritize to be able to intervene in these cantons. This gave us the first selection of the 6 cantons, to whom I want to thank again because of the commitment they have had from them and their teams. And they are cantons that are pretty small. They don't have more than 20,000 inhabitants. In the cantons, there isn't much state intervention. The gaps are more important. And the selection criteria, other than demographics, are technical criteria, but also indicators of gaps and chronic malnutrition, prioritizing parishes, seeing this the state strategy led by the President Guillermo Lasso.
los 4 municipios que ya han logrado esta primera certificación, que como
I would like to thank the 4 municipalities that have reached this certification, as Roy Kitty, with the conference he gave on Monday with UN Habitat Olmedo, Limón Indanza, Penipe, Nabón, and they have been able to access this first silver certification given by UN Habitat, and obviously inviting Chillanes and Olmedo, with whom we have speaking with, to be able to continue to give the proper steps to be able to reach the certification. But before we are able to have a real control of all these interventions, we need to have a control and a leadership from the presidency, always working with the Midubi.
a todas las estrategias y a todos los proyectos que se están levantando.
The objective is to be able to monitor and follow up all the strategies and the projects that are taking place, and it's important to know that this is born in function of having to gather all the real needs, and we need to be able to understand the execution process and the traceability of the advances of these projects. This allows us to have a strict control of the registry and the advancements, and it simplifies the articulation as well. So what we pretend is that these ministries or the institutions don't work just individually, but we want to generate success at a communitary parish level to demonstrate that the breaches of the state are, or the gaps of the state are covered, to be able to have the necessities that can be covered in 100% in the territory, and understanding that whenever we start to confront these gaps from small communities, it's easier, and the intervention can be more profitable, economically speaking, and the problems can be solved in a holistic manner. We have repeated this before, but we need to be able to prioritize communities that will allow us to articulate with other areas of the state to have a working table and in an interinstitutional manner to determine what the breaches are in each area and what are the solutions that we can give in function of these gaps. And obviously, the system, what allows us is that it gives us control and follow-up that is done by the presidency, but also the different areas of the state. And for this, it was fundamental. The dashboard that you presented is spectacular. I've already asked my team while you were presenting so that they can get in touch with your team so that we can work together. We have been generating this system that has 4 roles, which is the master, which is including different institutions that are joining the effort, different areas and localities and axes that we will explain further. We have an administrator that can create these macro goals. They always have to be tied to the SDGs and also to the national plan of the government. The technical administrators are the ones who will give follow-up to each advance of the project that are taking place, so we can see a structure of how the system works, prioritizing always macro goals and specific projects. And this is always tied up to institutions that have the responsibility to implement the projects, and we have to understand that the presidency, other than supporting the projects of every institution, we generate needs that need to be solved by each institution that is intervening. Midubi has stated some macro goals that you can see in the left-hand part of the screen, in which there is the reduction of the quantitative deficit for housing, the qualitative deficit, the national cadastre system, and also reaching huge amounts of investment. Whenever we hear about $100 million, $300 million, that's great, but we are looking is to really land on these ideas and the SDGs and the macro goals to concrete solutions, like being able to change soil floors to concrete floors. And this transformed the lives of a family, of a community, as we can see here, in which we have the replacement of 15 soil floors in the Chillanes cantons, and also housing solutions as well. And every institution has specific goals in how the different areas of the state and also a defibrillator. And this battery that we don't usually see, and we're thinking about the deficit of ambulances, the change of this battery can be very significant. And these are the projects that Cities of Change has. The Ministry of Education has a great project, which is to give water for human use in their institutions. Not every house had water that was able for human use, but the education centers should be a example, in that they can have access to water meant for human consumption without having to have these big investments from other companies or areas or institutions. Next, the Ministry of Inclusion and Telecommunication have been very valuable in the execution of this project. And obviously, this is all aimed to chronic infant malnutrition. And we've been following up from the technical secretariat, and I want to thank everyone who has been involved in these 18 months of management and being leaders of specific projects. This can be replicable, and it can also be implemented not just in these cities, but other cities that are references. And we know that the gaps in the state in terms of basic services, whenever we're speaking about Limón y Nanza, Chillán, Olmedo, Espejo, Penipe, which are cantons that don't have more than 20,000 inhabitants, it's more feasible, or it's more probable to be able to reduce the breaches of the state, the gaps of the state. And this can be used at a community level or neighborhood level or parish level. And we're generating different labs so that we can see that this can be eradicated at the end. We are looking to forget about these cantons once their needs are met. Access to connectivity, access to housing, green spaces, public spaces is solved at 100%. As the minister said, there's a second phase for these pre-selected cantons with whom we have signed from the presidency in the 2022 forum in an agreement to start working with these municipalities. It's important to mention the successes, and we have been able to touch upon different institutions that have been able to achieve different goals. So reaching 70,000 people have been beneficiaries, participation of 8 institutions. We know that this is a progressive topic, And we are still working with the objective that more cantons and municipalities join the project. We have raised 1,500 specific projects, which is something so simple such as giving an education institution drinking water. And we are also having different types of interventions.
Proyecto Ciudades del Cambio. Desde la Subsecretaría de Transformación, Eficiencia y Calidad de los Servicios del Estado de la Presidencia de la República, se lideró el desarrollo del sistema de seguimiento de ejes estratégicos, herramienta tecnológica que permite consolidar la información del proyecto Ciudades del Cambio. Esta herramienta permite realizar el seguimiento de las intervenciones en cada uno de los cantones priorizados, a través de la gestión, monitoreo.
In order to create a project, we must select the following information: institution, macro goals, province, canton, parroquias. You need to enter the correct address, the name of the project, description, date, and financial source, the amount of the investment, server, the objective, and their description. After creating the project, the tool allows us to have live information and to review the state of their execution. Execution, planified, finalized. Through this dashboard, we can visualize in a graphic manner the state of the macro goals and their projects. In general information section, we can monitor the number of institutions, execution institutions, the amount of cantones, and the population, beneficiary population from the governmental actions. We can see also geographically the location of those projects. In the section of macro goals revision, we can see the execution company
Contiene filtros que facilitan la visualización del avance de la gestión realizada en los cantones priorizados. De ese modo, permite seleccionar la institución, macrometa y cada uno de sus proyectos. En la sección Seguimiento de proyectos, podemos...
Within the section of follow-up projects, we can visualize all of the indicators of each one of the projects. Also, we can verify the advance and the historic evolution by project in a timeline. The last section, it is the actual state of a project. Generates in a graphic manner the geolocation of each one of the projects with their advances, the accomplishment of their objectives, and the dates established. Through this project, Ciudades del Cambio, Cities of Change, we look to especially of priority groups in order to accomplish the SDGs and also the objectives of the National Plan of Development. These cantons must be must be an example for the country.
Bueno, muchas
Okay, so thank you very much. And the most important thing right now is this, that this can be replicable, and that not only we want this to be a government policy, we need this to be a state policy, because we're looking for is to reduce these gaps with these services, translated into small projects that must be intervened. And sometimes we don't see them, and they generate an impact, an important impact. So thank you very much. Marco, I'm pretty sure that my team is going to contact with your team in order for us to strengthen the system. And it is amazing what the public enterprise is doing right now, EP Public is doing right now. I'm going to break the protocol right now. I would like to invite the mayor of Espejo, and you can deliver him directly the certification of the SDGs.
Se realiza la entrega del
We are delivering of the silver recognition to the city El Ángel from El Cantón Espejo. This is the silver certification delivered by the Madam Ministry to the Mayor of El Cantón Espejo.
Aprovechamos este.
We take advantage of this space to make a special mention to the IDB, to the AFD, to the CAF, to the GIZ, to the World Bank, UN Habitat, the Organization of Bamboo and Latam, to the project of, to the CELA project, to the CIHALC from Guadalajara, to the Telecom Corporation, CNT, to the Public Enterprise, Creamos Infraestructura, to the EPIC Const, to the local government of Santo Domingo, Banco del Pichincha, to Mutualista SUAY, the General Bank of Rumiñahui, La Cooperativa Antutaki, and the CONAFIPS. Let's continue with our agenda of our third day of the forum. And from Mexico now, we have Executive Director Bernd Feinstein from CIHALC. That's going to share about the CIHALC work. Please, a round of applause.
Muchas gracias. Muy buenos días.
Good morning with everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation to the Ecuadorian government, also for the Madam Minister that she was part of this route of CIHALC Asambleas in June in Kenya. So we are super thankful for this space because we're living in a daily manner in a crisis, a social crisis and an environmental crisis that is reflected in our cities. And with that, we're thinking that what can we do together in order to construct, to walk together hand by hand with empathy, with the recognizing the others, and how can we agree? How can we reach agreements? So at the end of December 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, as we can all remember those difficult times that we lived through those days, and at that moment, an idea was born, an idea that visualizes as an objective to recognize the different cultures and identities in Latin American Caribbean that allow us to recognize the problems, the issues that sometimes we think in a negative perspective. We need to search for the positive and the strength of their cultures and of our communities. Then they are going to help us to advance in a collaborative way. This also helps us to understand how to build shared agendas. So this is the project that was named CIHALC, because why the word cumbre, forum? because it is a meeting from the institutions in order to find better solutions and for these social issues that worries us every single day. And with this is very important with the vinculation and the construction of community, and that's what the SIALC project is building and trying to build. And I would like to give a references about the community with SIALC, and also our big references from the CDGs, and so this is really nice for me to come back to Quito, where this was announced and founded, where the new agenda was launched. It is almost 7 years that these global agendas were delivered. So we're thinking about a new platform, and why the University of Guadalajara? And the University of Guadalajara has a lot of references in terms of culture, education, obviously, but the biggest reference and the most important reference is the national book event. And so this is a big reference in the region for education and culture in the region. So please, let's go back to the last slide. So giving you the references of SIALC, he was born as a social movement, and it's very important to understand how can we keep these projects moving forward. The governments have limited times and specific changes, so we need to understand if we want to walk into the future, we need to think about institutions and platforms that allowed us to continue our projects. So as in a public university with the references to the most important feria of the book in Latin America, and the second most important in the world. Also, we have here the United Nations that give us references in multilateralism. Last week we heard in Cuba and in this G7 committee, and last week in the high meeting in New York, and annually we have these encounters and these meetings of the diplomacy from our nations. But we also understand that our nations represent the people, represent our communities, and this community is going to be really important to advance in a collaborative manner. So we can give us UN Habitat, for instance, as a reference. Is Elkin Velázquez, the representative of this project. He gives the importance to SIALC as a public service in the world. So it is important for us to work together and change these realities in the neighborhoods and the communities. So it is really important to think that not everybody, not all of us are specialized on the new agenda and the new objectives of the CDGs. So we need to think about the people. We need to make them understand that this empathy, not only we have to live amongst our countries, because this was a very important reflection of our honor invited the ex-president of Chile and the founder of a program of UN Women, the Dr. Michelle Bachelet. This is the challenge of our project. This is the opportunity. This is the only opportunity we have to enhance the communication between us. So every day we hear in our region in the news that we need to think how to construct, how to build, how to add these motivations that different countries, the governmental sectors, and beside them the communities, the society, the public and private institutions, how they look for solutions, how they search for solutions, and that process. The proposal of SIALC with all the community we have and that we are still building is to articulate a communications platform that allowed us to have different results with the great reference with the global agendas and the leadership also, and that's why it's also very important that we have the logo here of the national the UN logo here. One of the most important projects also in Latin America is the CEPAL. There we are looking for a platform that allowed us to keep moving, to move forward. So the first project that we did in 2021, going out from the pandemic, that it was the Foro Urbano Zapopan. As we see right now, we did this. We learned from this project that the virtuality was really important in order to have the people interested in our subjects and projects. So with that, we managed to have a better visualization of this platform and better allies, strategic allies. So we're looking for this, so to be able to position in a collaborative way. We need to understand that every single year we have 2 world forums, and we are finishing right now the forum in Polonia, and in November 2024 we are going to this global forum in Egypt, in El Cairo. So what we see right now, the people that we are leading this project and all the people that are working with us, we saw the absence of the work